When people first stumbled across the idea of modifying your own game, it sounded dangerous. Actually going into the coding of a program and changing it and rearranging and creating scripts to continue a game. For a while, it was kinda dangerous. No one really knew how.
As the community grew, textures started changing. Simple ones like the face of a single rock blossomed into new NPCs, new side missions for other games, and it turned into a really successful way to extend a game's replay value when the original had become dated.
Mods have now been able to categorize themselves as texture packs, side quests, weapons, add-ons, patches, and in extreme cases, an entire other game. Every now and then, however, one will occasionally pass under the radar and not be discovered right away for whatever reason.
For our followers that are fans of Bethesda's flagship franchise, The Elder Scrolls, some of you may remember some trouble being stirred up in the modding community caused by a very obscure and simple mod known as JVK1166Z ESP. This was a Morrowind mod.
The only problem with it was no one ever thought to look at it as a mod, mostly because it didn't behave like one at all. There was speculation going around that it was just a virus conjured up by some computer-savvy troll that knew his way around the system, and thought he would share his mod with others. When people loaded the game with the mod active, the title screen would show for a full hour before crashing and deleting itself completely.
This led to frantic warnings being issued, even by the mod creator himself, saying that the mod was potentially a dud, it didn't work with any up-to-date system, there were some major patches to be worked out, whatever excuse they could come up with just to get people to stop downloading the mod. Expectedly, the mystery and speculation soon turned to apathy, and the craze eventually extinguished due to the mod's inactivity.
This was a book people knew not to judge by its cover. There was always an instinct floating around in people's heads that there was more to this mod that wanted to be explored, and they knew it too. And they didn't quit. There were members of the community that fought tooth and nail to find something that would set it apart from any other mod. And they found it.
A year passed and the mod turned up on a forum, claiming that if you run it on a really old and really simplistic software known as DOSBox, the mod would not only stay active while loading the game, but would automatically open and place you in the mod. This is where things start to get a little unnerving.
Upon entering the mod, you will immediately notice two things. The first is the box that pops up saying that the prophecy has been severed. Walking around in the game, you will start to realize that all of the NPCs having to do with the main quest are dead. You are thrown into a world where your character has failed the main quest, in a dimension of Morrowind where you are doomed from the start.
The rest of the NPCs that have nothing to do with the main quest are there in the game as well, but they just stand there. They do nothing. Attempting a conversation with them will always get you the same response. Watch the sky.
The second thing you will realize is that you are penalized for standing still, as you very gradually lose small increments of your health. This is because during the entirety of the game you are being followed and watched by a creature referred to in the game known as the Assassin.
Creepiest thing about this character is not that he kills you slowly, sometimes without you even realizing it, but that he cannot be killed, interacted with, or even seen until your character is already dead and he already has from you what he wants. His colorless and textureless figure holds resemblance to a spider-like humanoid with viciously long legs and arms, and a very distorted walking pattern. When dead, the replay menu comes up and the assassin makes himself visible as he walks out and starts to mutilate your corpse.
Soon, a dungeon was discovered called the Citadel, and at the end of the dungeon's vast machinery and formidable opponents was a locked door in a room the players nicknamed the Portrait Room. An unnamed person that documented his experience and kept in touch with a friend about the game invested days worth of time into the mod, staying into the game's universe and trying to figure out what was on the other side of the door. Maybe what the NPCs might be telling him could be a word of advice, and watching the sky could be a means of how to tell time in the game.
The person was led to believe that the door would only open during some kind of celestial event. If you died, closed the game, or went into the Citadel, everything would restart, and the waiting would be pointless. That meant the game couldn't be left unattended, and the player had to be constantly on the move thanks to the assassin character.
After days of playing, the man finally got closer and closer, and as he progressed, it felt to him as though the game almost tried to fight back in a way. The assassin would start to horrifyingly scream and shriek at his character. You could see him a lot more, and as he played the game, he even noticed that the assassin started to make himself visible more often in the game, almost as though he didn't even care. The enemies never fought back when you struck them, and the rest of the NPCs started to diminish as well, until finally, you and the assassin were the only two active entities in the game.
Days later, when he felt that he was really close to accessing the door, he started having lucid dreams and night terrors about the assassin character killing him during his sleep. He would occasionally see the silhouette of the assassin out of the corner of his eye, when playing or when he got up to take a break. Finally, during his last days of playing the game, it got to where he wasn't even sure what he was living was real anymore, because the dreams had gotten so lucid. The final document he recorded was of a real-life experience he had had with the assassin. He saw his shadow out of his peripheral vision as he began to tap on his glass window.
Once this story gathered some attention, people tried to find the actual JVK mod, only to be sadly disappointed that the mod doesn't exist. The only thing that was found was the original patch where the mod would crash Morrowind upon the launch. After research was done, people finally came to the conclusion that the mod was just a story. That didn't stop modding communities from trying to recreate what they heard, though.
Yeah, it's a bit of a sweet disappointment that this mod never existed, but as you would probably expect, the modding community is nearly, if not already, finished recreating the mod from the story. If that happens, we'll all be able to experience the terror ourselves. Just don't play it too much, and most importantly, watch the sky.